Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to introduce to you now. Jon Engelson is an expert in diet, nutrition, and holistic healing with over 30 years of study in the field. Since the 1990s, Jon has been instrumental in helping his clients, family, and friends embrace natural healing through dietary interventions. With a passion for educating others, Jon frequently conducts enlightening lectures and seminars on nutrition. His knowledge led him to establish You Are What You Eat Incorporated, a trailblazing company that introduced innovative health and nutrition products to schools and the mainstream market. Under Jon's visionary leadership, the company landed on the Inc. Magazine 500 list of fastest growing companies in 1998. Jon has also lent his expertise to various health and nutrition firms, aiding in product development, design, and marketing strategies. Jon continues to drive innovation in the industry, presently serving as the Chief Strategic Officer at Joburg Meats, a company renowned for its premium grass-fed, pasture-raised, air-dried steak slices that tantalize the taste buds. Jon's commitment to promoting wellness and healthy living remains unwavering, making him a respected figure in the realm of holistic health. Jon Engelson, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you to Boundless Body Radio.
Great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Amazing.
It's an honor to host you. When I'm doing the introduction, what I do is I play the music as I'm introducing it, and so anything I goof up in the introduction, I can't go back and edit. So had a few stumbles in there, but they are what they are. And
I love it. It's real. I love real.
It's real. It's real. At least the introduction and the outro where the music plays. But anyway, it's such an honor to host you. I'm so glad that I got to be familiar with you and your company. You guys do an amazing job. Hearing you on my friend Philip Ovadia and Jack Heald, their podcast, Stay Off My Operating Table, several months ago was really great. And so I love your mission. I love what you're doing. And I'm excited to get you on because I wanted to talk to you today a little bit more about your own story and your evolution and understanding health and wellness, and in particular, nutrition. So can you tell us a little bit about your background? I believe your parents were in the medical industry, and that was something that you were wanting to embark on as well?
Sure. I born in Los Angeles, California. I live in Brooklyn. I moved 13 years ago, my wife and I, for the weather. Just kidding. But my father was an internist. My grandfather was a doctor. My uncle was the head of Chicago Medical School. My father taught at USC Medical School later in his life. So I've been in the health world. Unfortunately, my mother contracted multiple sclerosis at a very young age, before 30, and I saw her have to fight that debilitating disease. So I was sort of immersed, either forcefully or unforcefully, in the medical world. I was pre-med at UC San Diego, which I did not go through. I didn't have the discipline at that time when I was in college, but I ended up with a degree in biology, and my major was in economics. I ended up going into business. What happened was in my personal story is that I had some health issues in my mid-20s. And so I went, of course, to my father, and he sent me to the best, supposedly best doctors in the world, Beverly Hills doctors. I grew up in Westwood and Beverly Hills. And basically, I had a misdiagnosis of an enlarged liver and spleen after months of this doctor and that doctor. And thankfully, there was a misdiagnosis and a mistake. But that left me wondering, what is the system? I had all these, testings and this and x-rays and CAT scans. I was 3 days away actually from a biopsy, which was canceled, thankfully. And I thought there was something else. There was another world to explore. And I happened to fall upon a person named Mayor Abacera, who was a master in macrobiotics, and learned under Kushi, who was one of the founders. And I happened to chance on him through some friends. And I told him some issues I was having with my health, and he immediately changed many, many different things in my diet. at that time, and I started to feel a lot better. And he opened my mind to herbal medicine, homeopathy, and I started to just immerse myself in this. Beside whatever business I was doing, I just jumped in at kind of full force, and I really haven't stopped. I mean, I feel it's an ongoing learning experience. I've changed my views many times on different health issues, because as you get new information, I see that it's not a linear path. And so when I open my lectures and seminars, I basically have a theme of two words in the health world, and that is what works. If one thinks one's blood pressure for everyone should be 120/80, that's the most ridiculous thing in the world. That's like saying everybody should be 6'2". Things work different for different people. And the hardest part is, I think one of my one of the benefits that I was allowed, that I was given, is that because I didn't go to a particular school with a particular focused idea, what I found is, like, when I learned homeopathy, so they don't like the herbalist, and when I learned herbs, they don't like the homeopathy. Nobody likes the vitamin people. So what I found is that there was benefits for everything, for everyone, based on a person's makeup. So I'm very, very open to different philosophies, and I feel, even though I'm focused on what you would say holistic, natural, but I think there's many paths to success, and I see that in diet as well. Of course, people are on a certain diet and have certain health issues, so that therefore by changing their diet they can change their life and change their health issues. But it's, as you know, and I'm sure you have clients as well, it's very, very hard discipline to keep people in a certain way, because there's the social aspect of life, there's the obviously the food, potential addictions that people have, or just challenges within themselves. So what I'm in conclusion of this initial discussion, so that I have a very wide range of health history and education, that I keep an open mind to what can work for people, and different methods can work for different people. So that's a little bit of my history. The company that I founded.
I love that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was going to say the company that I founded, UE, was founded on my son was 4 years old. He came home from school with rashes, and I was like, he's eating something over there in the school, and I realized all the junk that they were giving him. And I said, how come they don't have any more healthier products in school? At least a healthier snack, stuff without, artificial flavors and dyes and things like that. So I started calling the schools, and I was like, because I had already been into, the health and nutrition, way of being for 4 or 5 years already. And I was like, oh, sure, we're open, and that's how the company really was founded. And we came along in the early 90s, where the energy bar revolution really started, and we were one of the first distributors. Like Gary from Cliff Bar, who was in his garage. We were one of his first distributors. Daniel Levitsky, the founder of Kind Bar, I was in my office in 1994. He had another company before that. Kind Bar, people don't know, collected dust for 7 years before they, collect meaning they weren't going to make it. But they just shot through the roof. anyway, the point is that company was founded on something negative through my son, and we started in schools, and then we expanded to other mass market outlets after that.
Wow. Yeah, that's an amazing journey. And it's good that you've been so open to be able to flow with different ideas of things. I'm often asked, what's the best fasting protocol? How long should I fast? If I do an extended fast, should I do it once a month? Once a quarter? Should I eat this way or that? And I try to answer, like, not only do I not know and I can't tell you, but you're asking an unknowable question. Even within a person, something could be right today that's not going to be right in a month or in a year. And there's so many other factors that it makes this so much fun to kind of help guide people through, but also endlessly frustrating about nutrition that you can't just give somebody a formula and the exact answer of what they need to do to become healthy.
Exactly. And I mean, look, a lot of people, and you might have a lot of the similar type of people come to you. What happens with me, and again, I'm doing this more in my professional life. I'm right now the chief strategic officer of Joburg Meats, but I do seminars quite regularly, and people come to me, and I have some private clients, and very similar. They're overweight, pre-diabetic, not feeling great, and it's a very similar type of people. And there's a lot of challenges in changing their diet, as you might have yourself with your clients, because it requires a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way. I had to take a client actually to the store one day. I mean, they didn't know what to buy. I mean, literally, that was one of my. And I had two different types of clients. I had one client. He was a single man in his 50s, so he was alone. So I'm giving him recipes, and for me, it's like when I go and cook something, it's like I'm doing this from years, and you think that when you know how to do something, you think everybody else knows how to do it. And he comes back the next week, and he's like, I don't know, I couldn't do this. I didn't know how to make that. My vegetables, burnt this, that. So it was very complicated. And then I had another gentleman, also, maybe in his late 40s, had a big family, and he's like, well, my family's not so on board with. So it was like he had to have his chicken without the duck sauce, and it becomes a whole train wreck, of trying to get these people. And I'm like, and after a couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks, like, there's no progress, and it's extremely difficult to put theory into action. And you might have the same encounters with some of your clients and your relationships.
I've had multiple people call me from the grocery store crying because they couldn't find a certain ingredient, or yes, like very limiting factors. Like, I don't know how to, saute an onion. I don't know how to chop the onion to begin with. Like, there's so many of those limiting factors that people don't know. And she'll probably hate that I tell you this story, but I just have to throw this in. When I first met my wife, she was just out of a surgery, and I traveled to Colorado to hang out with her during her healing process, and I made her this lentil dish. And it was like the best thing she'd ever had. She was in her 20s, and she was living on I think blue corn chips and peanut butter at the time. And so she had this warm, amazing dish with vegetables and lentils and all this stuff that I don't eat anymore, but I did at the time. And she calls me a few days later after I'd left, and she's like, what is wrong with this recipe? I'm like, what are you talking about? The recipe's fine. She's like, well, I put everything in a pot, and it doesn't look anywhere close to what you made. And she had skipped all the steps and just threw all the ingredients in a pot of water and thought that it was magically just going to appear as the dish where, I had to saute the onions and caramelize them and do all the steps of cooking. Like, oh my goodness. I had to politely kind of tell her that, yeah, I kind of missed the process. But yeah, it's a very limiting thing. You're right. You do have to sometimes hold people's hands or encourage people. If this is important to you and your health is important, spend some time on YouTube, take a cooking class. Like, there's things you can do to learn these things. But if you don't know basic things in the kitchen or basic nutrition, you're going to struggle. It's going to be tough.
By the way, I just you said something important in your last little phrase. I would like to tell your audience and anybody, if you want to learn about a subject, there's more than two, but two major options. People either Google something or YouTube something. Without question, YouTube is a million times better than Google. Meaning, if you want to, whatever subject you want to learn, you want to put ketogenic diet, right? YouTube it, and you'll get expertise, and you'll get a variety of experts on ketogenic diet. If you Google, let's say carnivore, it's ridiculous. It has their own spin, their own way of looking at something, and I mean, somebody opened my eyes to that, and it's like, Google is for, how many, what's the population of Minneapolis? That's fine. But for a subject that you want to learn something, and what got me, especially when I started to learn other diets like carnivore, is the reviews. When you see it was like, I would watch something and it'd be like, okay, first of all, where's the 800 number? There was no 800 number. They were just talking about their journey. And then you read one after the next. I'm 63 and I had this. I'm 48, I had this. And the next one, next one. So you see all these testimonials, and that was like, oh my gosh, there's something to this. So I just wanted to throw that out there a little bit to you, into your audience.
Yeah, I love that and appreciate that. You can go to our website with your credit card, and good luck finding something that you can purchase. Everything that we offer is free, and you find that a lot with anything. And yeah, I mean, I'm at age 41. I'm still getting better technique-wise at ice hockey because I watch videos that talk about techniques that I never was coached on. And so there's no excuse in 2025 when we have so much information out there. You can definitely learn a lot, and there's lots of free resources out there. So I love that. And your journey is so interesting because you mentioned, the company that you started. We're back in the 90s. We didn't have Google and YouTube back then, and the nutrition paradigm was vastly different than it is today. You mentioned things like ketogenic and carnivore. You were extremely lucky if you ever heard the word ketogenic in the 90s. You maybe heard of Atkins, and you definitely did not hear about carnivore. So tell us about your own personal journey and learning about these things and how that changed your opinion on certain things that you thought were or were not healthy.
So yes, I was, and I don't know if I should preface or I'll speak about a generality after, but I started with macrobiotics, which was a grain, rice, brown rice, lentils, sparsely, meat here and there, but some fish, but it was mainly centered around the brown rice, seaweed, that type of diet. And I have to say, it originally, and I might fill this in now. Like, I think in general, if anybody gets away from the SAD or the standard American diet and moves to a fresh food, real food diet, being whatever that is, fill in the blank, you're going to improve yourself no matter what. Because the processed foods, we've been, this evolution of processed foods, I'm thinking about it now, growing up in the 70s, like chips, these type of things. Yeah, once a month you went to a party, you had chips, but the chip companies realized, well, why not put that in everybody's lunch every day? It used to be every once in a while you would have these things, number one. And number two, I can't think of, when I was growing up, everything was cooked, or fresh, there wasn't boxes and cans so much, I mean, there was a can of tomato sauce or something like that, but most things were real foods. I remember milk was delivered, Ador Farms delivered glass container milk, left it on our back door. There's a milkman. I mean, literally. And so where this has gotten, and I'm happy to jump into this because it is a pet peeve of mine, is that being in economics, I'm a big fan of the free market. I'm a big fan of how our country has given many people the opportunity to succeed and generate wealth and financial well-being. Having said that, there are two places where it is extremely flawed. And that is one in the medical world, because if you're healthy, there is zero money for those companies. Number one. And number two, if you're a large conglomerate like Kellogg's, or Frito-Lay or whatever it is, the only way you can make more money is to one, buy up smaller good companies, which they're doing, and then ruin them. And I'll give you a quick story about one of them right after this. Or cheapen your ingredients. So what used to be, let's say, in a French fry was potatoes, tallow, and salt. When you would go, now there's about 7 or 8 ingredients, because they've created things like dextrose and maltodextrin and all these yeast extract and all these things that are masked in like they're okay for you, and they're not like sugar, but like maltodextrin has a glycemic index like 40% higher than sugar. So it can say 0 sugar, but you can buy a bag of chips and you're going to get a glucose spike worse than table sugar. So this is crazy. This is crazy stuff. So in those industries now, and I get it. I mean, you can't make things more expensive for people and make more money. How do you do that? It's a juggle. But the thing that bothers me, and people say, do you want? And I'm torn, because I don't want to start banning everything, because then I remembered, in the 90s or 2000, I can't remember. Yeah, maybe around late 90s, 2000, there was a bill in Congress that wanted to, put vitamins as prescriptions, and supplements and all the regulation to come down on an industry that I was in and I felt very passionate about. And oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Vitamin C is going to be regulated? How could you do that? So at the same time, you have stuff like, all these the dyes, the yellow dye, and all these that are so bad for people. I just think there has to be a way in which we can sort of dance this, with just letting people know and give them the right information and let them make the choice. I don't want to force people, into things. So anyway, that was one of the thoughts I had on the whole, economics of the situation. Now, obviously, it's fantastic to have to try to put out good products, and this is what I became sort of passionate about, is just trying to do our best to put out good products that people can be proud of, and at the same time build a business, and feed our families. So that's, it's a fair question, and it's a real and there's real answers to it. So
yeah. Well, I really appreciate that. That's a great answer. And I do want to talk about your company and your product. But before we do, I've got 2 questions for you. The first is, what things changed for you personally, health-wise, as you started to learn about low carbohydrate, ketogenic, carnivore diets? Did you see any major health improvements as you push in that direction? I'm not sure where you fit in that spectrum. It's not really important, but what things you noticed with yourself? Yes. And also, I would like to ask you, now that you're working with these people, this subset of people, what has been your experience? How has it been, meeting different carnivores, people who are ketogenic, low carb? Like, what has that community been like?
Okay, so yes, so so it was interesting, and just a little background is that in the 90s, this whole grain revolution was really very powerful, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together that a grain, any carbohydrate, turns into sugar. And having said that, I I felt, I was sort of against, the meat, and I bought into that, and eggs and all these things. And then I kept open mind, along the journey. And a number of years ago, I I started looking. Eggs was the one that I was kind of obsessed with. Like, they're good for you, and then they're bad for you, and then they became good for you, and then the whites are good, but the yolks are not good. And then I was like, what's going on here? And then I realized, who's telling you it's not good for you? Where is this information coming from? How is it that people ate eggs like, 40, 50, 70, 80 years ago, and they didn't develop negative, heart issues, cholesterol, this whole thing. And then I realized it was just this information. It was hard to get good information. So I had to like go out of this vacuum and just like relearn everything. And then it was like, why is a piece of steak bad? It's actually the most natural. I mean, you can't get, it's just meat, and then there's nothing processed in it. What? And it's protein, it has choline, it has, magnesium, potassium, amazing ingredients. How is that bad? Now, look, if somebody wants to be vegan, and they have, a view, I respect that. That's not a problem, but don't do it at the expense, like they're doing it at expenses like it's bad for you. Like, I'm vegan. I don't want to eat meat. I want to respect the animal. That's fine. Okay, I'm kosher, so we have a certain way of handling the animal. We have a very high standard of how we slaughter animals, etc. And so there is a respect. I agree. I agree with that. But as far as the nutritional aspect, I mean, all of a sudden I was seeing people who had, again, similar overweight, feeling sluggish, feeling pre-diabetic, high blood pressure, things like this, and changed their diet, removed the starches dramatically, added fresh foods such as eggs, such as meats, such as leafy vegetables, and removed, the potatoes and the sauces and the cakes and breads and all those type of things. And lo and behold, their health improved. They lost weight. They felt better. They're sleeping better. Unbelievable results. So I couldn't deny this. So I personally, I think I'm a hybrid. I focus personally on, fresh food for sure. I will every once in a while have. I like sweet potatoes, for instance. I like, I feel there. I like the berries, So I fit in certain things that I like, that I think still have nutrition. God bless me to be very thin, so I have to gain weight actually. So, but I work out, but the health results that people have had by getting rid of those starches and those ingredients have been unbelievable. Now, I must say that the grains that we have today are not the ones thousands of years ago, number one, not even the ones that are in Italy, let's just say, today. And I just saw something where people, eat pasta in Italy and feel good and look great because they don't enrich their pastas with niacin and all this other stuff that we do here with our grains. It's because I think at the genesis of a whole grain, there is tremendous health in it. But where it is today and how it's grown and how the depletion of the nutrients that we have and just completely whitewashed the health benefits, it's far from what it really originally was. So that's a little bit of my history. And I will say this: the carnivore diet was something I did it for a little bit myself. I listened to Paul Saladino. I listened Ken Berry. I mean, I immersed myself. Anthony Chaffee. That totally went against my. I had to rewire my nutrition compass, because it was like, what? And I saw people like just have unbelievable changes and results. Again, this is why I spoke about the youth, because you see the comments, and you can't even if you get 100 comments, you can't have 90. You can't have 99% of them wrong. I mean, and that was like, and I told my wife, I said, there's something to this. I mean, there has to be. And that to me, that was a game changer for me to see that. And so I really respect, and that's how I got involved with Philip Ovadia. I mean, and you see these people, and people, these are medical doctors, in the regular system, and they saw it wasn't working, and they took things in their own hands. And if there's one thing I could tell your audience from the show, and I think you would put an exclamation point on this as well, Casey, is please don't put your health in anybody else's hands. We have information today. If you take the time to learn anything about any other subject, take the time to learn about your health. You can take charge of it. Don't give it to somebody in a white coat and somebody in some building that calls it a hospital. Take your charge of your own health today, and you can direct yourself to a great road of well-being.
Yeah, so well said. I absolutely love that. That's such a great point. So yeah, you've got this background in working with different companies and working in food for such a long time. You obviously, learning what you've learned, have wanted to do this in an ethical way, and you found Joburg Meats. So tell us about the company and tell us why you wanted to get involved with them. Yeah, exactly. Looks good.
So I've been doing consulting for a while, and with companies, and thank God they found me. I found them about a year and a half ago, and they were, like most companies, going the standard, just get into the business method of how a company works. But the standard, I want to get into the mass market, and we sell to a distributor. The distributor sells to a wholesaler. Wholesaler sells to the retailer. Retailer sells to the consumer. And that whole circular ball game can be effective. I'm not saying not, but it's an old way of selling, and it's a very challenging way, because there's basically I'm going to call it legal extortion in all these companies. They take you to discounts. They want product if it goes bad. I mean, they put a lot of restrictions on you to make money, beside cutting your margins. So when I went in Joburg, the one thing I told them, I said, listen, there's a new way of selling today, and the way of selling is, you have two ways of selling a product. It's supply and demand. So if you supply a product to a store, let's say I want to get into Whole Foods, I supply 100 Whole Foods with product. That's a supplier's way of doing business. But I said there's a better way of doing business. It takes more time, but it's going to be more effective, and you're going to get better customers. And that's the demand side, meaning who wants your product. The first thing I do when I go into a company, I want to know two things. One, who's buying your product and why? Have you talked to your customers? And 99% could go, no, we just throw it, So I go in the company, I call customers. Hi, you bought our product, let's say on an online sale. I email them. Thank you so much for purchasing our product. Tell us what's the one thing you love about our product? I want to know why people are buying our product. The why of a company is what changed Kind Bar from perhaps going out of business to being $1 billion company. The why is a mission. The why was do the kind thing. And if you notice, all of the great taglines you could take every company, it has nothing to do about their product or service. The greatest tagline ever probably is just do it. What does that have to do with shoes? Absolutely nothing. American Express, don't leave home without it. Burger King, have it your way. Disneyland, the happiest place on earth. I can go on and on and on. And always nothing to do with your product. So when I see Joburg product, it's not about, okay, great, it's 32 grams of protein. Companies tell what their product is. But I want to know why because I'm traveling and it's light. I can be on an airplane and I can take my Joburg snack and no problem put it in, and I can pass travel TSA easily. For my kids, when they go to lunch, they can have a product. When I'm on the road, I can have a product. I'm on a ketogenic, paleo, carnivore type diet. I need this. This is what I need in the middle of the day. I need something like this to fulfill my hunger at this point. And I wanted something healthy. So pasture-raised, grass-fed, kosher, steak slices, taste great, 32 grams of protein, minimally processed, 3 ingredients: beef, apple cider vinegar, salt, and spices. And that's it. And so that's a little bit of the story of how I got into the company. And what I did for the company is I said, let's get our product to we promoted the low carb cruise, low carb center. Let's go to the low carb community. Let's go to people who want your product, who need your product, who are every day, not somebody who's going to buy this for $8.99 and then to go, you know what? I need potato chips tomorrow. I mean, those are just flippant people. But if you go to people who are on this way of living, and there's a lot of them, and it's growing like crazy and will continue to grow like crazy, then you have solid client base. I have a woman, it's her 9th order. I mean, they order constantly, and I help people out. I give them custom discount codes. I want to make them feel good. We love our customers. We care about our customers. They're precious to us. And I told them that's what you have to create, the image as a company and the image of how you relate, because these people, every customer today is a Whole Foods. They can lead you to many more customers because they have people just like themselves. So this is what the mentality I've brought about for Joburg in the last year and a half, and it's been fantastic. We sponsored, like I said, the major low carb seminar in San Diego. We set up booths there. That's how we met Dr. Ovadia, Dr. Sears. I mean, I can go on and on. Dr. Lufkin, we were on his show, and amazing people. We need each other. We need them because they promote our product, and they need to tell. They tell their patients. You tell your client. You just worked out. You need to tell them what to eat. So you need products to tell them. So we help each other. And that's what's been amazing about this experience. The people, I mean, Dr. Vadia, what a great guy. I mean, you talk with them, they take the time, they care about really the health of people. Obviously, they want to make their business. We all want to make business, but we really care about helping people feel better, and do better in their lives.
I love that. Well, on behalf of the low carbohydrate and carnivore and ketogenic community, I just have to thank you for that and that mission. And yes, we do have to work together, but you're talking to an audience who really cares about what they eat. And whenever I travel to a conference, I'm taking with me like 24 hard-boiled eggs, and I get stopped at TSA every single time. It's important for me to feel good when I'm at a conference. I want to pay attention. I want to maximize my time. To do that, I know for myself, I need to be in a ketogenic state and have high energy. Those foods are really important to me. And so I have to take that. And yeah, I'm always looking, and our listeners are always looking for, products that they can feel good about, that are convenient for the times that they need them. So I really appreciate that. You mentioned a lot of the terms that we like to see: the grass-fed, the grass-finished, pasture-raised, all that good stuff. There was one that has been so confusing to me that I was so excited to ask you about today: nitrates
Sure.
and nitrites. This is something that seemed to be like not a thing until maybe, like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. You started seeing packages of bacon that said nitrate free. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess this is a good thing. I'm not really sure. And then you see that celery salt is added to the bacon. And then you learn that there's just as much nitrates, or that's where nitrates come from. It's all just very confusing. And you hear people say that like processed meat has nitrates, but it's not that bad for you. So can you tell us a little bit about the label nitrate free? What's up with that? And is that something we should be concerned with, or not really?
Okay, so there's a word I'm going to use a Hebrew word here, which is called parv, which means, so parv means that you're allowed to, it's kind of like the middle road. It's not, something could be, meat and dairy are not allowed to be eaten in the kosher. So, but something that's parv, like an egg, could be eaten with meat, or it could be eaten with dairy. Something like a piece of bread is generally parv. It could be. I'm going to plead this. The jury is still out on this. Now, in Ken Berry's book, Lies Your Doctor Tells You, he has a chapter on this, and he's saying that nitrites are something created in our saliva already, and he basically says the benefit of the meat outweighs any of the nitrites or nitrates negativity. On the other hand, I've seen a lot of, what I've seen. I haven't seen the research, but people have brought out research that there are negative things in it. So I'm still, the jury is still out for me on this. This one, I know this is not an answer that you might want, but I'd rather be honest than to say, as you can see, my passion on something that I feel I know, I would give you. And in this journey, I try to be humble enough to keep open to things, because what happens is, again, and this is when you get involved, you get on a way of something, and you think you put blinders on, like a horse, that's the only way. That's it. I can't do this. Now look at Paul Saladino. Is an interesting, I studied his journey. He was a carnivore. You wouldn't think he would have a piece of fruit. Okay. Now he talks about honey, raw honey, certain fruits, butternut squash, for instance. He's added to his diet. Raw cheese, things like this. So what I'm saying is that people's journey and people's reality changes sometimes along the way. And even the staunchest, ways about it, people start to change, because at the end of the day, again, and it came back to this whole thing, we have to focus on a certain way of that we understand this, like the ketogenic, how amazing it's helped so many people. At the same time, we have to be real of how we can live our lives, and how disciplined are we going to be always with each meal. And again, so that's why I kind of revert back to the fact that, listen, if you're going to sort of fall off the wagon, meaning like you've been very careful at something, at least fall off with something real and natural and healthy, not something, not a can of a box of cookies, so to speak. So if you had a sweet potato and you had some extra carbs from sweet potato, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, there's a lot of good health ingredients in it. I'm throwing out certain things like that, or certain berries. The answer on that is the jury's still out.
Thank you. I appreciate that answer. And your company skips the whole mess by just saying we're nitrate free. You don't use any other ingredients than the ones you listed, which I really love. I understand that you just redid your website. Tell us what products somebody might find if they log onto your site and are interested.
Absolutely. So our site is joburgmeats.com, JOBURGMEATS, meats.com. We have I got 3 flavors. We have the original, traditional, spicy peri, and I have a pepper that I don't have with me, but the pepper flavor in a purple, which is also delicious. Again, all grass-fed, pasture-raised, and the way we do it's not like jerky because it's soft and tender. So they're really like steak slices. So they really melt in your mouth. They're really delicious, and we have a special for your listeners, your followers, at 15% off. They can put Casey 15, CASEY 15 at the checkout, and we very, very much appreciate. We support your show, and we appreciate, and we're very, very, very grateful to obviously have our product and to show our product, and that it'll be something that will benefit them in their health and nutrition journey. And again, we're fitting a role in modern society. And I'm sure you have this with your clients. You could say eat fresh all the time, but it's not easy to take hard-boiled eggs in an 85-degree day in your car and expect them to be fresh in 4 or 5 hours if you forget to put the air conditioning on. So we live in a real world of travel, of moving, of people go out and camping, they go hiking, and as much as the OMADs, the 1 meal a day people, love one. It's not real for most people. That's just the reality. 2 to 3, meals a day are just traditional for people, and that's the way it's going to be. And people say, Dr. Boz, she's totally against snacking. No snacking, but it's not real. And again, and for most people, I'm not saying, but some people can. That's it. They have they get up, they put their eggs, they make everything fresh 3 meals a day. They can do that, or 2 meals a day, whatever that may be, and they never have a snack. That's just, to me, I don't see that for maybe 20% of the people can do that. So most people, they're on the road, they're at their office, they get hungry at 4 or 5 in the afternoon, they're in traffic, they want to grab a snack. So let them have a good snack, let them have something healthy. That's what we wanted to fill the market. We have 2 new flavors coming out very shortly. We have some new items that we are working on that are going to revolutionize the market as well. So it's very, very exciting for us as a company and as a journey. And we've met amazing people like yourself, and the work that you do is precious, for people. So I'm really, really grateful to be with you and on your show. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the kind words. And like I said, on behalf of the low carbohydrate and carnivore community, we're so grateful for people like you that are producing good quality food, doing it the right way, and getting it out to us as an option. So thank you so very much for all of your work. Thank you so very much for the discount code as well. We will tag that below for anybody who wants to take advantage of that. And one last time, where would you like people to go to find you, Jon, and connect with you and your work and find the company?
Okay, again, Joburg Meats, JOBURGMEATS.com, joburgmeats.com. And my email directly is Jon, Jon, at joburgmeats.com, Jon at Joburg, JOBURG meats.com. Happy to hear from any of your listeners, and be a pleasure to just continue this relationship, and build upon it, and to continue to just try to do good things, and help people to feel better in their journey.
Absolutely love that. We will tag all of that in the notes, and we're so grateful for you and again all of your work and for bringing a super high quality product out to us. So thank you so very much for all of the work you do, and the amazing food that you produce. And thank you for taking time to be on our show today, Jon. We really appreciate you.
Amazing. Thank you. All the best. God bless you. Be well.
Thank
you.
God bless you as well. And this has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio.